All right, hi everyone. Thank you for being here. And today we're gonna be going over, our social justice leadership series, Black Experiences at TAMIU. My name is Belma. I'm currently a junior here. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm currently the student engagement coordinator for the TAMIU Seoul office. Okay, so social justice leadership series were all about service, respect, growth, power, privilege, oppression, and identity. So for our institution to live up to its mission, we must continuously provide resources and support to our students, faculty, staff, and administrators. We must have a critical eye on whether our institution stands and how we can effectively provide educational opportunities for all. And the TAMIU Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement Social Justice Initiative proposal is an effort to cooperate values of service and respect and encourage personal growth around individual identities and power dynamics. So if you guys are interested to become a social justice leadership ambassador, here are some of the requirements that we have. So you must attend 6 out of 12 SJLS programs that we have from this academic year from 2021 through 2022. And our new social justice leadership ambassador will begin fall of 2022. And one of the benefits you get from that is you will be recognized at Emerging Leader Celebration that we have at the end of the spring semester. And you can even get the Social Justice Leadership Ambassador Medal. So what is social justice? Social justice is the inclusion of everyone in the full benefit of society and the empowerment of people to participate fully in the economic, social, and cultural life of the country. So human rights are rights we have simply because we exist as human beings. There are no granted by any state. And that also means that the fair and proper administration of laws conforming to the natural law for all persons, irrespective of ethnic origin, gender, positions, race, religion, etc., are to be treated equally and without prejudice. So universal and inalienable, I can never say that word, inalienable. We are all equally entitled to our human rights. They should not be taken away unless through due process. Invisible and interdependent. That's one set of rights cannot be enjoyed full without the other. Making progress in civil and political rights makes it easier to exercise economic, social, and cultural rights. And equal and non-discriminatory, we are all born free and equal in dignity and rights. Freedom from discrimination is what ensures this equality. And thank you so much.
Awesome, round of applause to Belma. Thank you, Belma. So we're gonna go ahead and proceed with our panel discussion. We have great speakers with us here today. My name is Nayeli Lopez. For those of you that don't know me, I serve as the Assistant Director for the Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement. So we're very excited here to honor and celebrate Black History Month at TAMIU. And so we're gonna go ahead and begin with our guest speakers for today. We're gonna have each of them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about yourself, and how long you have been at TAMIU for.
Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia and I've been at TAMIU for around a semester till now. And I'm a business major, concentration in management and information systems. And I came from Houston, and so far I've had a sufficient experience here. It's been okay, as is the worst thing, but it's been good. I hope that this discussion is going.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Shopko, but most students just call me Dr. Z. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I'm an assistant professor in public administration. Prior to coming to TAMIU, I used to work at the University of North Florida and also at UT Dallas. So this is really pretty much my second semester here at TAMIU. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I have a 10-year-old daughter sitting right over there with home. So yeah, pretty much that's me. Thank you.
Hi guys, thank you so much. We are really very honored to have all of you. I want to thank Nayeli for her leadership in the social justice leadership series, and I want to thank you, Selma, for very, very heartwarming introduction. And to our audience, I really want to say that we are really honored with your presence here today to join us in this panel, because we think it's a great opportunity for us to exchange ideas. And for those of you who don't know me, I think I know several of you in the audience. Those of you who don't know me, I teach public administration. My name is Peter Haruna, and I've been here for, this is the 22nd year. So I'm excited because this is like an anniversary celebration for me, because I was here in the spring of 2000, and I started teaching here January 16, 2000. So this is February 2022. For me, it's like an anniversary celebration. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead and give a round of applause to our speakers. Alrighty, so we're gonna, the way it's gonna work today, we're gonna go ahead and ask them 2 questions, and then we're gonna open it up to y'all to have questions, kind of go back and forth. It's more of a conversation. That's really what we wanna aim for today, to have an inclusive conversation. So we're gonna go ahead and ask our panelists the first question here. That's number 2 on your sheet. How has your experience been at TAMIU thus far? And let's go ahead and start with Dr. Haruna. He's been here a very long time. So we're going to go ahead and start with Dr. Haruna.
So thank you so much. I know my colleagues here will have a chance to also share with you their experience. But my experience here has been fantastic. For 22 years, can you believe? I've taught so many classes that I've made friendships. I know a lot of administrators. I know so many graduates of TAMIU. And I just want to summarize it in one word. It's been one heck of an experience for me, because I was coming, I came from Africa to Ohio to do my graduate studies. Then right out of graduate school, I came here. TAMIU gave me the opportunity to come and start teaching. So I came here as a rookie professor in the spring of 2000. And from then on, it was a really, really exciting period for me, starting with my government classes. I teach national government. Then I also teach graduate students. I teach public administration classes. And as I said, I've made so many friends here on our campus. I have faculty friends, so many of them I can't even count them. I have made so many friends with my students. I attend their birthdays. I celebrate their weddings with them. And I go to Martin de Porres Church. I'm a Catholic. I was baptized in 1964. You didn't hear that from me, right? I was baptized by a Canadian priest. And I went to Catholic schools over there in Ghana. So I went to St. Peter's Primary School, then I went to high school in Notre Dame. Yes, Notre Dame in Ghana. So I had all boys school, that was the high school that I went to. Then I went to the University of Ghana. So I spent about half of my life over there in Ghana, working for the Ghana government, and then doing some graduate teaching as well. So when I left Ghana and came to Ohio, it was like a big transition. Then I left Ohio, came to Laredo, Texas. Now, where I was born in Ghana, it's a border town. And that border town has 3 African countries sharing the same border. It's Ghana, it's Togo, and it's Burkina Faso. So I was born and raised next to a border town. Then I had my graduate studies in Ohio, if you know the University of Akron, close to Cleveland. It's also next, it's just close to the Canadian border. And now I find myself next to the Mexican border. So it's like it was planned for me, right, to be born at the border, to have your education at the border, and then to be teaching at the border. So I'm like a border person. I have border in my DNA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna. So for myself, I'd really say, of course, I've just been here for one full semester. Pretty much, I would like to say this is a very, very friendly environment. I work with very, very good colleagues who are very supportive in all manners. I've lived in diverse communities, pretty much most of my life. Like I said, I come from Zimbabwe, it's an African society. I went for my undergrad in Cape Town, South Africa, which is really very diverse. I also lived in the United Arab Emirates, right? So I've really been in tune with different cultures and diverse communities. So for me, getting a job or getting hired here at TAMIU was really, really exciting because I've never really been in a mostly Hispanic community. So I was like, this is good for me. I want to learn. I want to continue, just being in touch with different communities, different races, if you may say so. So I would like to say this is really, really a very, very good opportunity for me, very exciting, very friendly environment. The students are awesome. I'm teaching public administration courses, and I'm telling you, I really, really am excited to be here. I also was in Dallas. I did my PhD at the University of Texas at Dallas. It's also very diverse, but of course the setting in Laredo is different, but even in that difference, I'm still learning a lot and hope to continue to learn a lot.
Thank you.
So because I'm a student, my experience or my perception.
I can hear you. I'm older.
Oh,
So.
So because I'm a student, the way I would see things would be different because I'm a student. I'm not a professor, so I want to see things from a real professor. But so far in totality, I would say, yes, it's been good. I don't really have a different frame of reference to say. I didn't really go to middle school because I came here straight from high school. So it's been good. But I would still say that there were times when, because I've just been here for a semester, there were times when I came here and I felt lost. Not lost in the sense of academically lost. That part was even more easier than I anticipated. But socially lost. I felt a little bit confused. I didn't feel as accepted as I thought I would be. And typically it would make a person shut down, or it would make a person just not want to open up or be friends because, I don't really have any friends here. But in as much as that happened, you should also think about another person too that could be going through the same thing. You may think, I don't really have any friends. And then the next person next to you is thinking, I don't really have any friends. The same thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And my problem is not, I don't really have any friends. It's not the problem. The problem is just that being able to accept one another, despite differences, despite anything like that. That's the thing. And it's not even on a speaking level. It's not what you say. It's mostly on an unspoken basis. Because these are the kind of things that you feel. It's not something they tell you. And what you feel is really, really much more stronger than what you're told. Because you have to fight the feelings. You guys understand like intuition when you feel something, but the words are different, but how I feel is different? This is exactly what I'm trying to say. Overall though, I don't mean to sound morbid. I've had a great time here. So many opportunities that I can't imagine has happened to me here. Just not once have I had to worry about, oh my gosh, student loans, oh my gosh. No, TAMIU handled everything for me. And I've been more than grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our panelists. Yes. Very interesting, all their experiences from many years and how you said you were a rookie, Dr. Haruna, here many years ago, and as well, your experience here. Thank you, Semiola, for sharing, right? that sense of belonging. I think that you were, mentioning. So it's very, very important, I think, to talk about that in this conversation. We're going to jump into our next question, and then we're going to open it up to you all. So make sure you're thinking about what questions you want to ask. The next question to our panelists here is, could you tell us what are some challenges or obstacles you may have encountered while your time here at TAMIU? So what do you think about, maybe you've been here a semester or a year or 20 plus years, it's part of life, right? We all go through some challenges or obstacles. So if you'd like to share a few obstacles or challenges that you may have encountered, we're going to go ahead and start with Dr. Zolkos.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well, when I saw this question, I was thinking, what challenges can I talk about? Because I've just been here for a semester. Like I mentioned, so far, work-wise, everything is going on well. It's a lot of support. Colleagues are there to help you out. But of course, maybe social-wise, you can't just go out there and find maybe some grocery stores that particularly sell African things, right? So I always have to get that stuff when I'm in Dallas. So I think that's one challenge as well. But in terms of, I also go to church. I found a church, Zoe Family Chapel. So it's led by one of the associate professors here. So I think that has also helped because there is some community there as well. It really kind of helps you also feel part of that society, though mostly it's a Muslim Hispanic community. And just going on, of course, on what she said, I think particularly for students, it's very easy to get lost when you're really the minority in this sense. It's really mostly a Hispanic community. So I think maybe it's a bit easier for the professors or faculty or employees because we always work together. So I understand from her perspective, which is why I think this is a very good series that maybe we can share ideas of how can we help students, right? Especially in the region, TAMIU, who are maybe from a Black community. How can we help them to really find, because it's not all about just going to classes and passing exams. It has to also be the 360. What about the social life, friendships and things like that? So this is really, really awesome. We need to be more inclusive and help them out to come out and, enjoy the whole experience.
Yes, thank you. And I agree with you. The food, right? I mean, if all of us have gone outside Laredo, we look for our cultural food, right? With church, if we have a religion, like you mentioned, creating that space for our students so they don't feel lost. So thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and jump to Seniolua. Yes.
Some challenges or obstacles that I have encountered, I would just use one major thing to encompass everything I'm trying to say. And I hate to use this word, but I would say a very noticeable challenge is, and I do apologize for saying this, but I think the most delicate, appropriate word I can use would be cultural ignorance, maybe, or insensitivity, I would say. So many times, especially when maybe I was a freshman in high school, because I did go to high school in Houston, Texas, Hastings High School, High School. And for a while, I'm so embarrassed to say, I was so unhappy to just say the fact that I was Nigerian or an African. I was so embarrassed to say that, especially to anyone who would ask me. I would probably always say something different. And the reason for that is because, believe it or not, whenever anyone would hear the word Africa, or would want to describe somewhere they've been in Africa, not that Africa is bad, no, it's just the negative connotation attached to it. That is bad. That is the bad part. And because of that negative connotation, you can just imagine how I felt just for a long time about something I couldn't control. And it took me a while to break out of that, because it's not my fault, neither is it my problem, nor would I change it. And as soon as I was able to own on that and be happy and say, oh yeah, this is where I came from. Oh yeah, Africa this, Africa that. It filled something up in me that it just made me so much complete as a person. And just different little things that maybe sometimes when a friend of yours would say, oh, do you listen to this person? And then when you say, yeah, you're so surprised because it's not popular, it's not, nobody really knows. You get a deeper connection with that friend when you realize, oh, you guys listen to both the same underground music artists or whatever, right? Like, do you guys, have you had that experience before? Okay. I feel the same way whenever I talk to someone and they tell me something that I don't know about maybe being black, well, not that I don't know, but tell me something I wasn't expecting them to know, right? But to them, it would seem like a very special thing. To me, of course, because it's my thing, it doesn't seem that special. But because they actually took the time to learn about that thing, I felt like I matter. I felt like for the first time in my life, I'm not a propaganda or I'm not an object or I just felt like I had value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It really feels like you care about me. It really feels like that. It feels like, I'm somebody to you. That's how it feels like.
Thank you so much, Demi, for sharing that about your personal experience and about high school and identity is, I think, what I heard a lot. So thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and conclude with Dr. Haruna.
Okay, thank you so much. Challenges, let me just talk about opportunities first, because I've been here 22 years and all of the opportunities that I've had to grow as a person and to grow as a professional. So I've been supported by TAMIU to go to conferences, to do my research, to teach the classes that I really love to teach, whether it's national government, administration. And the university has also supported me and recognized some of my work. I've been selected for so many awards for the past 22 years. Been recognized by my peers for the work that I do. So, TAMIU, the question is asking about challenges in TAMIU. So these are the opportunities that I've had. And today, 22 years down the road, I'm a full professor of government. And without the support of the university, I couldn't be sitting here and talking to you and saying that I'm a full professor of government and public administration. So I've had all the support that any faculty would expect from the university. Now, here's the question, and this is the question my colleagues are addressing. Challenge in an environment that you are not familiar with. Okay? Anyone, if you are in Laredo and you go to New York, you actually feel like a fish out of water, right? You are out of your natural habitat. So there is something called cultural shock. So anywhere you are moving to a new place, you will feel that cultural shock. So, but there is also something known as cultural cushioning. You can cushion, you can develop a cultural cushion. And what I mean by cultural cushioning is friendships and relationship building. So when I first came here in the spring of 2000, you can expect that I felt like, I was quote unquote lost. But what I told myself is, I've got to accept the culture. I've got to embrace the community, and the community will in turn embrace it. So there are ways of navigating the difficulties and the challenges when you find yourself in quote unquote in a different location, different environment. So what I did, I started making friends right away. So I made friends, and my friends here took me to different restaurants. They took me to Tilake Pake, where the tacos are really big like this. And then I got used to Chick-fil-A, and then I got used to chicken fajitas, right? And guacamole. I love guacamole. So when you find yourself in a different environment, you got to find something that you like. Because if you're looking for something you don't like, you'll find so many of them. So you better focus on things that you like. Build relationships, build friendships, and that supporting techniques, that supporting strategy will help you so that you don't actually continue to experience the cultural shock. So you develop cultural shock absorbers by developing relationships and friendships. That's what I did. And I'm glad that I did it because I really found the transition much more was smooth for me. Not that it wasn't challenging, it was a big challenge. Every now and then, after 22 years here in Laredo, whenever I get introduced to somebody, the first question they always ask is, where are you from? So after 22 years, people are still asking me, where are you from? So I just feel like, really 22 years?
Let's say you're from the radio.
Well, my answer is always, I'm from Zapata. They always look at me and say, really, are you from Zapata? But that is just because I always want to start a conversation. Then I'll tell them, well, originally I'm from Africa. And they start nodding, yeah, that's what I thought. Then the next thing they will ask is, hey, you have an accent, where are you from? So the question, you have an accent, especially my students, and I love my students, they always say, Dr. Haruna, you have an accent. And I say, you too, you have an accent.
Yes.
That's my way of trying to, to handle the situation. But the accent is, I grew up with about 5 different languages where I was born and raised. So English is probably my 6th language. So as I try to speak English, there is linguistic interference. So over the years, my tongue and my speech organs are all used to those original languages that I started speaking. So when I try to articulate in English, there's some kind of interference. So that is what you hear as the accent. Now, but here's the deal. So when I go back now, after 22 years in the US and in Laredo, when I go back to Ghana, my nieces and my cousins, those that were born after I had left, and their kids, my brother's grandchildren, they're always asking my brother, where is he from? They don't know I was born and raised in that same ancestral home. They're asking my brother, where is he from? And they ask my brother, when is he going back to where he came from? So here's the problem. So I'm in Ghana, where I was born and raised, and my nieces and cousins and everybody else, after a long while, they don't know where I'm from, and they ask me, where is he from? Then I come to Laredo, and then I get introduced, and then people are asking, where are you from? So it's look like I'm in a place, a no man's place. I'm floating somewhere. So, but I enjoy that learning opportunity. I see it as a socio-cultural space where I can actually capitalize the opportunity to connect and build bridges. So I teach my nieces and my cousins and their children, I teach them what the radio looks like. I teach them what the US culture is all about. Then as I engage with my students in the classroom, anytime they say that you have an accent, I say, yes, here's why. Then I begin a conversation to be able to bridge that gap. And so there are ways in which we can handle, quote unquote, the cultural shock. And of course, I understand the issues that are being raised by my colleagues here. So there is always a cultural shock. But there are ways in which we can deal with the cultural shock. And I appreciate that you actually brought that out. This is the way that I try to create friendships, relationships, and make yourself vulnerable. So I go out, I eat a lot in the Dusty Diner. I go to movies, sometimes with my wife, sometimes with my sons. I go everywhere, and then and I want to engage. So, and I go with a positive, open mind. So yes, I know people may ask me questions that I may not feel comfortable with, but that is the real challenge for me to be able to confront my own demons and be able to engage with other people and create a learning environment for myself and for everybody else who I happen to. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Round of applause. Very, very interesting to hear from all our speakers. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions here. Who would like to ask the first question? Yes, go ahead.
What would you want to change about TAMIU or just the city of Laredo?
So is this specific?
The change is a very difficult word, very difficult. In the social sciences, change happens a little at a time. It's called incremental change. So we don't want to expect big, gigantic revolutionary changes. It usually doesn't happen that way. Change that is sustainable, change that stays, is usually a little at a time. And then we can move a little at a time because all of us, change is very threatening. Change is uncertain. We don't know. When we say change, what do we know what to expect? So change is very hard. And we are creatures of habit as individuals. We are all creatures of habit, aren't we? So we get used to what we do and we feel very comfortable, right? So change is very hard. So to ask whether we would like to see things change in Laredo, I would be very cautious because we've got to look at it very carefully. What does it mean by change? For example, one of the things that I've tried to do in my classes is to open up conversations. Yesterday, I asked my students, what kind of society would you like to live in? What kind of society? Just tell everybody in the class. And you will be surprised, the students say, there are three things they mentioned. They say, I want to live in a very decent society where everybody is respected. I want to live in a very safe community. Almost all the 40 students in my class said, we want a safe community. We want police to protect us. We don't want police to hurt us. We want a healthier society. A society where everybody has a chance to be healthy. So those are the kind of, so when you ask, generally, so it's not necessarily about Laredo. It's about, they are human problems. They are not Laredo problems. They are not US problems. They are not brown, they are not black, they are not white problems. They are all human problems, human issues of decency, of respect, of equality, of equal opportunity, right? So when I meet with you, I'm not going to tell myself I want to change this person. I'm going to tell myself I want to hear and learn from this person by engaging with them. So I would rather say, instead of saying what do we want to change in Laredo, I would rather say, what can we together learn from each other? What can we together, Laredo at large, TAMIU as a campus, can we create a welcoming environment for everybody? Whether they are black, whether they are green, whether they are white, whether they are blue, we don't care. Can we create, like what my students are saying, a very safe zone for everybody to be able to express themselves, to be able to grow, to be able to learn? So I'm really usually very skeptical about anytime people talk about change. I'm usually very, very, very skeptical. But I'll leave it to my colleagues. Maybe they have.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Aruna. Cultures that are embedded are very hard to change. So for you to just need to say, what do you want to change, necessarily is very, very difficult. But I think it's what we can do, right, to make everybody feel included in everything that we do. Like she's mentioning a lot of challenges that she's facing. She feels like, she's not part of, the others, right, in terms of interaction. So I think it's just putting in place measures that make sure that all students, right, irrespective of their race or whatever it is, everybody is inclusive. What can we do? How can we help? It could be from the perspective of the faculty. Maybe it could be interaction. What we do want to use coaching, right? Just to help students really assimilate into the culture. I can mentor her, just to help her, maybe improve anyhow, whatever she's feeling that, she feels this is really a challenge for me. I think it's about what we can do bit by bit, like he's talking about incrementalism. It's how we can do and what we can do to ensure that everybody is included and everybody feels inclusive. That's what I think.
Yeah, because on the topic of change itself, it's very scary. And once you are scared, you completely do the opposite. So instead of opening up to change, now you goes up and you do not want to change. Now you're acting not aggressive, but your response will be aggressive that you don't want to change. And inadvertently, now there's no solution. Now the what is that saying that says how the cure is worse than the sickness? I think that was it. Now that's the problem, right? So if we wanted to ever improve or do something, it would be because you want to do it, not because someone's forcing you to do it, not because you think that you have to do so when you're happy. No, it's because you think it's time for something to be better. It's time for us to improve. It's time for us to be better. It's time for me to see what's out there. It's time for me to live outside myself. It's time for me to see outside myself. Because I'm not the only one here. Other people feel different.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and ask our folks joining us on WebEx. We have some people joining us virtually. Does anybody have a question? Dr. Cantu, I do see that you have your hand up. Did you have a question, Dr. Cantu?
Hi, actually, I was just, I meant to clap and it came out as a question. But so enjoying this detail.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Does anybody have a question? Ms. Lori, Dora, Hope, or Denise, the folks that are joining us virtually? Anybody? Or anybody in the room? Does anybody have another question before? Yes, Roseanne.
I'll let us go first if you would like to, because it's your thing.
Oh, yes, go ahead. I didn't see the hand. I'm sorry.
Are there any students?
I do.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so based on your experience on going to like I guess a different city, regardless if it's for personal or education or an occupation like the professor, you came here because you were given a job opportunity. How have your personal views changed, regardless of like that you feel accepted, like even if you see like okay the culture is different. And it takes time for you to like maybe you feel comfortable regardless of where you live in the house. It is whether it's from a carnival or it's still a time for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that question. Like I mentioned before, I really I've lived in different cultures, right? So I've developed that culture awareness. Like I said, I'm from Africa. I've lived in South Africa. It's very diverse. You can think of any race in South Africa. I've also lived in United Arab Emirates, which is also another culture that was sort of like I experienced that culture shock, right? Because it's mostly the Arabs, right? And then you are African in that big society. But with time, I started putting myself out there, making relationships, friendships and things like that. So that in the end, you don't even end up seeing that you're different from others, right? You connect with the people in that community. So then coming here to the United States, of course, very, very diverse. I lived in Atlanta, which is also very diverse. So pretty much for me, I think it's very easy for me to be part of any kind of culture. I'm able to understand others, and I think because maybe not that I talk too much, but I also try as much as possible to engage with others. I don't separate myself just because, I feel like I'm different, so maybe I should kind of shy away. I just put myself in there. If people don't understand me, or people say, like the accent thing, right? That's a thing that many Africans, are told, you've got an accent, but okay. I'm like, I have to embrace who I am, right? As long as I'm saying what people can understand, we were not all born in America, so you have to accept, you have to appreciate people's different, different accents and things like that. So I think for me, it's very easy for me to really get into any kind of culture because of my background and where I've lived, the schools that I've attended, and it was made very much easy anyway. I've never really faced, discrimination or things like that. And if I do feel like there's some form of discrimination, I don't put too much, I don't think too much about it. I can just separate myself from that and find others maybe who make me feel, included. Yes, and welcome. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, you can go now. You wanna...
Yeah, you raised a very important question. I think the way we adjust into cultures is a process. So, and it is possible for someone to come and then within a week or two, it's like, I don't like it here, I don't like it here. Or a month, or even maybe a year, if they are able to make it to 1 year. Because they are not embracing. So I think it's a two-way street. So you got to embrace the culture. This is your new home. For me, Laredo is a home away from home. So I embrace the culture that I find myself in. And then the culture will in turn embrace me. So I go to church, St. Martin the Forest Church, and I've been there for the past 22 years. I've made friends there. They are not necessarily in TAMIU. So every time I go there, I always see somebody different because I sit at a different location. So at Christmas, this past Christmas, I was standing next to somebody for midnight mass. Those who are Catholics, we do midnight mass. Then we are singing the Christmas hymns, and I'm singing the Christmas hymns. And then right after the mass, the person next to me asked, so do you all celebrate Christmas where you are from? Now, that was an opportunity for engagement for me. So I said, yes, we celebrate Christmas. And by the way, I was actually baptized in the Catholic Church in 1964. And I learned all the Catholic hymns and the Catholic prayers and everything. And then they wanted more. They wanted me to give them more information about myself. But we had very little time. So they gave me their number. Okay, can we talk some more? Then I had my business card and I said, okay, I teach you that, you can take this. So for me, it's a process. So when you embrace the culture will in turn embrace you. And I attended a wedding. Two of my students in El Cenizo, they were getting married in a Catholic church in El Cenizo, Highway 83. And they invited me. So I got there all by myself. My wife wasn't available. So I went there. It was a Saturday. It's a little church like this. And then when I got there, the church was full. And guess what? I was the only black person there. So I'm standing at the back, and then right as the people were looking, those close to us, probably wondering, who is this person? Maybe they've lost their way.
Yeah, like you stand out from the crowd.
Maybe they've lost their way, and I'm just standing there. I wanted to make myself vulnerable, so I'm standing. So right after the mass, my students who just got married, they saw me and they ran and they came and hugged me like this. And everybody's like this, everybody. They were puffing their eyes. Who is this person? Then my students started introducing me to the rest of their relatives and their friends. And when we went for the reception, I became a part of the family. Everybody's asking me questions. Oh, do you like it? Do you enjoy the food? And
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the food with that. So it's a process. You gotta be prepared for that process. You gotta, it's not easy. I'm not just saying that, well, everybody will do it the way I do it. But it's a process that we're there. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to contribute to that, Senora? Okay, great.
Like you shared, your personal experience you share in high school, which I understand if you're gonna like new to this, so it takes time for you, but then later on, like as you kind of stay within this, where you are a little longer, then you'll later figure out like, okay, you're comfortable here, or if not, it's fine, you can like go to another location, which is understandable, because it's like you feel your identity does not fit in with I guess with the culture here, or at least like they finally let you feel welcome, like like it's okay that you're different.
So, just to touch on what you said, not so I'm not comfortable here. As soon as I came to TAMIU, so the problem is not that I have culture shock. The problem is not that I don't understand TAMIU's culture or the culture of America as a whole. I think, personally speaking, as an African, specifically a Nigerian person, I have been genetically wired to connect and understand each and every single person. Because just your childhood as a whole, what kind of people you meet, it would be a little bit absurd for you to see a Nigerian or African who does not know how to interact with different kind of cultures. So that is not going to be my concern, or it wouldn't be the concern. The concern would just be every now and then you get a little bit lonely. Every now and then you might want to eat jollof rice, which is a cultural dish. Every now and then I might want to speak Yoruba with someone, but I don't speak Yoruba. You guys don't speak Yoruba, but neither do I speak Spanish. So I also try. That's what I do.
It just takes a task.
Yes, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and go with Rosanna Palacios in the back.
So mostly I'm gonna talk, and then I have a question though. So first of all, and I'm gonna read your name or I'll never remember it unless you have a shorter version. Simi Leo Lua. You are a very brave person to move all the way from Nigeria to Houston and then to Laredo. Because Laredo is not diverse. Laredo is Mexican American, Latinx, Hispanic. We are probably one of the least diverse communities you've ever lived in. Dr. Z and Dr. Haruna. Even me, I'm 61, I'm well educated, I'm smart, but what was the first question I asked you, Dr. Z? Where are you from? And I agree with Simi. God, I'm trying so hard to get my speaking off.
Simi, yes.
But I agree with you that it's ignorance that leads to insensitivity, but there's also curiosity. And because, like I just said, we are not a diverse community. And when I went to the University of Texas 44 years ago, people kept asking me, where are you from? You have an accent. And I said, no, I don't. Because I was from here. I spoke like Laredoans, I looked like Laredoans, and then I would say, oh, well, I'm Mexican. Oh, you were born in Mexico? Oh, no, well, I'm Mexican American. So there was all of this going on as well. So I guess my question is to the students who are here, who are from Laredo. How many of you are from Laredo, Zapata, or the area? Raise your hand. You grew up somewhere around Laredo, Zapata. Because when you leave here, you're gonna have to take the attitude all three of them have. Because even 44 years later, my niece, who is blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but es mexicana, and she says, I'm Anali Palacios, and she has the Laredo accent, which I lived in Houston 3 years ago, and someone called my boss, and I answered, and they said, are you from Laredo? And I said, yes, why do you ask? And she said, you sound like my boyfriend, and he's from Laredo. She didn't even meet me, and she knew I was from Laredo, we actually speaking. So I was, you all, when you leave here to study somewhere else or live somewhere else, you need to take their advice and ask them more questions, because you will have to assimilate to a completely new world that is not 90 whatever percent Hispanic, Latino, Mexican American, whatever you want to call it. And that does not say, when you say bilingual here, we know it's English and Spanish. You say that somewhere else, it could be any other language. So I just want to thank you all for sharing your perspective. And I know when I lectured Dr. Luna, I asked a heck of a lot of questions about the culture, but for me, it's curiosity. And I have to remember that it can be attributed to ignorance or insensitivity. So I really just want to say I appreciate your comments, all three of you. And I have one funny story, and then I'll let everyone else talk. My husband and I travel a lot, and P.S., he's Lithuanian and as white as white can be. And when he now thinks he's Mexican, and I tell him we don't accept just everyone, honey. But we were in New York, our flight got delayed, we had to go to another airport, and we were at JFK, and we went to eat. We walk into a restaurant, it's Jamaican. My husband says, well, this is weird, I've never felt like authority. And I said, speak for yourself, I'm Mexican, I'm a person of color. So, you said, I was like, oh, honey, I'm like, dude, I'm Mexican, I'm a person of color. But it was an experience for us to feel that like you must feel when you first step on the campus here or other places. So Thank you all for sharing your experiences and your knowledge. And I recommend all of you try to follow some of that, because when you leave here, it will be different.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you to everybody. A round of applause to everybody. We have a few minutes left. If anybody has any other question virtually or here in person, if not, we're going to go ahead and finish off with remarks and maybe some advice from the three of you as we wrap up today's panel discussion. Oh, yes, go ahead. We do have a question. Yes, go ahead.
So we did mention that the community is like very ethnocentric, so it's like mostly Mexican American. But I was just wondering, like, in the future, do you see this whole like TAMIU, because it advocates for like international culture, it advocates for that. Do you see it becoming more diverse in the future, even though it may not be?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When I first came here, we were like maybe 3,500 students. Now we are over 8,000, maybe 8,500. And when I first came here, the loop was just one way. Now the loop is bigger. TAMIU, we didn't have a student center here when I first came. So there's physical change in Laredo in the period that I've been here. There's a lot of physical change. And the physical change is going to translate into social, cultural change. One of my colleagues, Dr. Momin, has written a book about Laredo. She's originally from Bangladesh. And she interviewed so many people here on campus and in the larger community. And she's written a good book about how Laredo has changed over the time that she's been here. And she's been here maybe 20 years. She came here 2 years ago. So she's 20 years and I'm 22 years. So she found it very exciting to articulate all of the changes that have occurred, over the course of 2 decades. So yes, things are changing. Sometimes we don't know that things are changing, but they are changing. And sometimes we ourselves are changing. But because change is uncertain and change is so scary, we are always in denial. But we ourselves, we are changing in many, many ways. But as I said, change doesn't happen overnight. So it may be happening a little at a time to us, to our children, to our relatives. But because it happens a little at a time, it's hard to say change has occurred. But over a period of time, cumulative change can be felt and it can be seen. So Laredo has changed. So whether we like it or not, the change is occurring. And when I first came, I was the only African American. I call myself an American African. So make a distinction. So people who are here, they call themselves African American. The African is the adjective, and the American is the noun, because they were born and they probably don't have roots anymore in Africa. But I was born in Africa and I have relatives there now. My family, the larger family is there. So I describe myself as an African, as an American African, because I gained US citizenship. So the American is the adjective and the African is the noun in my case. So things are changing, and I've seen a lot of changes, and the way my students have embraced me, it's so phenomenal. And the way they feel comfortable inviting me into their homes, and asking, one of my mentors just brought her mom to my office last week, and her mom just wanted to talk to me. And then my student has her birthday coming sometime in March, and her mom said, I want you to come to celebrate this birthday with us. So, I don't know, I wasn't here 40 years ago, but from the period that I've been here till now, I can see that change is occurring.
Do you
Yes.
think these type of like conversations that we're like holding now, like maybe also part of the change?
Absolutely. This kind of conversation is really the key. And I'm a chair of the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Committee here on our campus. And our goal is just to create an awareness, to bring the cultures together, to let people feel open to carry on a conversation, to create a platform for students, for faculty, for administrators. Because believe it or not, even with faculty, we are in different departments. So we have walls, we are in silos. So my goal is to try to break down those walls. So I have friends in the College of Business, I have friends in the College of Nursing, I have friends in University College, College of Education. So as I walk on campus, my students always say, hey, Dr. Haruna, and then I stop to talk to them. Last week, one of my students told me, Dr. Haruna, I saw you in the dining hall and I said hello and you didn't say hello back. So that told me something. You see, they are so confident in me that they will tell me, this is what happened. Because I tell them, if you see me anywhere, say hello to me, and I will say hello to you, and we will continue. Change is happening. Change is happening. We are often in denial, I know, and as human beings, we're pictures of habit. So we tend not to love to talk about change. But change is happening.
Yes, thank you. Oh, yes, we do have now everyone's asking us questions. Yes, that's what we want. Okay, go ahead.
Just a comment to add. And I probably was one of your first rookie students, because back in the day, I did take classes with him, and he was a committee chairperson in my master's.
Correct.
I've known him for twice. To add to his comment with that, if you're not familiar, Laredo had military bases here. So we were very, very little more diverse, because if not, my mother's side of the family would have come into Laredo. I'm half white and I'm half Hispanic. And then I have a cousin who's half white, half black. So my whole family is mixed. So if it wasn't for my grandfather being in the Air Force and being stationed here in Laredo, I probably wouldn't be here. But I do think I know it's going to happen. You know, change can happen, and we're gonna see it. And yeah, like you mentioned, discussions like this and having these presentations, this is what gets people together to make.
Yes, thank you so much. And we have about 3 minutes left, so I just want to hear from our speakers about a minute or so, just advice that we can continue to work on being more culturally inclusive, being more aware. What kind of advice can you provide for our participants here and those who are joining us virtually?
I think firstly, just maybe to also comment on the question.
Yes.
I think there's more room for TAMIU to be more diverse in terms of getting in students from other nationalities, cultures. I think there's need to recruit more, like the few professors or students that we have from, for example, from African societies, they can, through maybe word of mouth, right, start talking about, TAMIU, start bringing in people. I know a lot of people from Africa who definitely want to come and study in the United States. Then that could be a point to start from, right? And just making people aware of TAMIU. That's the only way we can start bringing in other diverse cultures, right? Because without that, so I think there's need. Of course, I know there's an international office, recruitment office and things like that. But I think there's need to bring in more, because that helps as well from the perspective of what she was talking about. It helps bring in more other diverse cultures. Just besides, being mostly a Hispanic community. So I think in the future, if that is really worked on, we can end up seeing a different picture on campus.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Sumiola?
Yeah. There's a saying, I usually hear it a lot in Nigeria. I've never heard it in America before. But they say a word is enough for the wise. And the word that I will tell you as an advice is, although social media with the internet doesn't really have a good name to it, especially older people think it's demonic or it's bad or something. But I would tell you, it's such a useful tool. In this generation, in this time and day, you cannot tell me that you didn't really know you weren't supposed to say this. You didn't really know you were supposed to do this. Or I didn't know this was going to offend you. You have the resources. You have access to things like this for free, right? So I would implore you to take it upon yourself to sort of, and this is a misnomer because it's not really educating, but it is educating at the same time because you're exposing yourself. But I would tell you to open yourself and open your mind, because here, I'm here to have the time of my life. Like, I just have 2 semesters here, but I want to live it. I want to learn the culture. I'm so excited because as soon as this phase is done for me, I'm just gonna take everything I'm taking from here. Maybe I just keep going to different grades of life. But as of right now is later and later is now for me, which means I'm always gonna have now. Because no one knows tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So because I am now, I have to spend the time now enjoying myself and learning. Like my friends always tell me how they want to take me places, and I'm so excited. Even this one person wants to take me some, the place I'm talking.
Yeah, yeah. You haven't been to Taco Palente.
Yeah.
We need to go to Taco Palente.
So let's just open up more. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I the way so like you feel more welcome into that community, right? The way even as us as the people that dominate this, that's like what you hopefully we do, right? Oh, like you don't feel like an outsider or like maybe like you don't have a sense of control.
Oh no, it's okay.
It is fine. It's still gonna do it. It's fine, but you're like you still want to feel welcome. Right?
Oh,
But-
that's not something that's gonna change overnight.
I know, but unless you see that, then probably should.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're gonna wrap up with Dr. Haruna. Last few words, Dr. Haruna.
Yeah, but before I say the last thing, I just want to thank all of you. I really appreciate the opportunity to engage everybody here. And you have other things to do. One time to meet. I thought this was very important. So for that, I would like to say on behalf of the company, a big thank you to everybody who's been a part of this event. The last thing I want to say is that change, as we've always said, is going to be very difficult. It has taken the US for 200 years to get to what the US is. Sometimes change, you may also take one step forward and you will take 2 steps backwards. In the history of mankind, this is how we've always seen it. Change is not unilateral. It's not linear. It's not like, okay, we start here and we get there. Sometimes we take 1 step forward, we take 2 steps backwards. It's just the nature of it. So we don't have to be too hard on ourselves. I think all we need to do is to give it a try. Make yourself vulnerable. I always want to make myself vulnerable. And let's create space for all of us. And as I said, it's not for one race, it's not for one ethnicity, it's not for brown, it's not for Hispanics, it's not for blacks. It's for us, human beings. So, anytime somebody says, oh, well, I met somebody and they didn't say good morning to me, I always say, did you say good morning to them? So, it's a two-way street. So if I enter the elevator with you, my natural instinct is to say hi. Will you say hi back? Well, that's not the issue. You have a choice to say hi back, or you have a choice to remain silent. But then that is your problem. So I have said hi, and I got it out of my chest. Will you say hi? I don't know. So do I feel disappointed when you don't say hi? No. Because I think I've done what I'm supposed to do as a human being. We have to communicate at the human level. I don't really care whether I'm a professor or you are a student. We are human beings. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, go ahead and give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you very much. I think we all learned a lot. I know I did. I learned a lot from their personal experiences and them sharing. And Thank you for being vulnerable and talking about this and being open to this. So we really appreciate it. So I don't know if you want to wave goodbye to our folks joining us virtually. The camera's over here. It's over here, Dr. Herman. It's okay. It was over there, but all right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. And make sure you pick up your free wristband. We do have your food voucher. So you want to come up and pick it up. Thank you so much, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Oh, Adam said he virtually waved. He waved to you. Thank you, Dr. Haruna. Thank you. Oh, this is for Dr. Haruna. This is for the panelists. Yes, this is for the panelists. Make sure you get your food voucher. Don't leave without your food voucher. Yes.
One thing that like you canceled the yesterday.
I didn't say it's on 2.0. It's the second workshop.
Yeah,
You already took the first one.
I know. And I still moved into like a little bit of my head.
Oh my gosh. Oh, hi.
I'll see you.
Yes, when do you graduate?
I don't know. I'm kind of like fucking even not sure, but you know, I'm still into the. It's just like we see some perfectly made production. We kind of ask a little bit like yeah. So for me, like to consider like that, I would say you know
Yes, yes, so continue to come. I'll see you in the next one, okay? Thank you.
we don't get canceled, hopefully.
Y'all sign in already? Yes. Okay, great. We do have wristbands and different buttons for social justice, different sizes and stuff. Yes. Yes, Bill, I'm sorry. Yes.
These students, what's it called? They joined online and they just came here for.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. That's fine. Yes, that's fine. Did you sign in already? Not yet? Okay. Awesome. Very good, right? Very informative. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Hi, did you sign in already? Awesome, thank you so much. Did you sign in already? Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Yes. Yes, awesome.
Yes, that's what it is.
We can track their time. Oh, we have a. Oh, yes, oh, no, if you joined virtually, right?
Yes.
No, you're fine if you joined virtually.
I have one of those in my
Oh,
backpack.
I have them on. Okay, awesome.
I love it. I know. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
And then for the following semester, we're going to be opening up applications.
Okay, great. Let's get a wristband and button if you like. Oh, yes, go ahead, sorry.
Not that I know of, but if anything,
You signed in already.
but if anything changes, like that's when we'll like send an email to like everyone. Or like to the members who like have been coming. With that, I'm not too sure because I don't think we've done that.
Yeah, we haven't officially started it, but you will be doing something very similar with like welcome. So helping us do the welcoming, talking about the program, recruiting other students, also brainstorming what type of topics, right? Because when we think of Women's History Month, there's so much to that, Black History Month, right? So thinking about brainstorming what kind of topics we can do to help we can collaborate with other students and organizations. Yeah. Or maybe even being part of the panel, right? So stuff like that. Yeah, that's what we're looking for, is like a leadership opportunity to become an ambassador. Yeah, so, you know, just attend popular programs in the fall or spring, and then you would apply online. So, and our programs are in person and virtual. Yes, application will be up on trial basis. Right now it's temporary closed, but we'll open it up. Yes, and we were gonna go ahead and email all the recipients who submitted this figure, and we'll email you the application. Yes, awesome. What's your name? Oh, Brandon, you did, yes, your name was great from there, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Email, yes, okay, great, yes. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us, yes, I saw it. Yeah, yes, thank you so much for stopping by, and I thought it was very good, very informative. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Talking about their personal experiences, I think it's very inspiring. But thanks for being here, stopping by.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I got to teach you, I'll keep this up.
Okay, that's not.